let's talk about Sherman, because I think fans are starting to wonder. I think the fans are starting to notice how great the defense is playing without him. And it's like, wow, I didn't expect that. And then 2, I think fans are starting to wonder, is he coming back? It's a calf injury. He's supposed to be back already. Calf is close to an Achilles. He's not signed through next year. I think some people are starting to wonder, maybe he'll just healthy up and sign somewhere next year. Do you it's hard to really speculate, but do you expect him to come back this year? And maybe more relevant, will the Niners defense be better with Richard Sherman? We've talked about this before, but we're getting more evidence.
Well, first, it's the situation of his injury has been very vague. The information has been very unclear. I don't know what's going on. I'm not in his body. He's also 30. I think he's 32 or 33.
32.
He's an aging player. So there might just be a buildup of soreness there where his body might never, ever feel right the same. Like, it might not be a pinpointed injury, but there might just be soreness from the wear and tear of him playing year after year after year. And Shanahan talked about it last year with Richard Sherman. The guy has played through a lot of different stuff, and he doesn't really complain. He doesn't really talk about it. He's rarely on the injury report. He just plays through it. Mm-hmm. And that type of playing through injury might have just worn his legs out. Hopefully it hasn't. But I do think there's still a role for Richard Sherman to have on this defense. I don't think this defense has been tested mentally yet. And what I mean by that with these guys playing is the game that it could be next week where DK Metcalf has just roasted you guys for 2 different touchdowns. How do you bounce back that next series when you need that stop? I think Richard Sherman's leadership, I think his poise, I think his self-confidence and that kind of thing is something that would be very useful and is still essential to this team at that point. But for now, it's easy to say that, right, Richard Sherman, we probably don't need him. We can, because these guys are playing so well. But there will be moments and there will be games where things aren't going well. And that's where you'll need Richard Sherman, someone who's battle tested, someone who's been there, someone who's done that. Mm-hmm. And we haven't seen this group of players get tested like that yet. It could be next week. Maybe it doesn't happen this season. But I do think there's still a role for Richard Sherman on this team.
Well, you made great points. Obviously, a guy who can intercept passes and a guy who has experience, his leadership. We were talking about leadership a couple of weeks ago. It's great to have him sort of waiting in the bullpen. I use baseball metaphors. It's nice to have him waiting and ready to go. You'd rather have him on the team waiting to come off IR than not, right? Because God knows with Jason Verrett, he missed he got hurt for a second last night. He missed a snap, and everyone was thinking the same thing. Here we go. Here he gets hurt. He's hurt again. You can't count on him. So we don't know how long Jason Verrett's going to last. And it's great to have Richard Sherman backing him up. All I want to say is that since Richard Sherman's gone out, the Niners defense has totally changed its identity. It's a different defense. It has different coverages. They went from a pure zone coverage team. And you ridiculed Robert Saleh for that. Not ridiculed him, but you were like, this is my main problem with Robert Saleh. There's only so much you can do if you only call cover 3 and cover 4 all the time, right?
Absolutely.
So now Richard Sherman's gone and we see, well, that's not really what Robert Saleh wants to do. He doesn't really do that anymore. Now he calls lots of man, mixes it up with zone. So what I'm seeing is, out of respect, deference, whatever you want to call it, to Richard Sherman, a future Hall of Famer, Robert Saleh was restricting his coverages. Now that Sherman's gone, Robert Saleh has expanded his coverages to the benefit of the defense. So again, it's great to have Richard Sherman in the bullpen, but if he comes back, they're going to have to go back to the former identity. They can't call 2-man cover 1 as frequently as they are now with him on the field.
Okay, I don't think it's fair to just put that all on Richard Sherman, because if you remember the first time I came on, our conversation was after the Jets game, and we were talking about the injury to Nick Bosa. At that point, it seemed D Ford wasn't long-term, but now we know it's long-term. I think Nick Bosa, and our entire thing was that if you don't have Nick Bosa and D Ford, you cannot play soft zone like this. You can't do it. You have to play man coverage.
Right.
And now there hasn't been Nick Bosa and D Ford for a while, and Robert Saleh seemingly has made that adjustment. He hasn't played soft zone coverage because the pass rush is not the same without those two guys.
True.
So I don't think it's fair to just say, oh, Sherman was what was holding this defense back. Because if Bosa and Ford were still on the field, we could very well still be seeing a cover 3, cover 4 defense with this same exact secondary, with maybe a bit more man coverage mixed in, but they might still stick to their bread and butter.
Hey, and I guess we'll know the answer if Sherman comes back and he gets reinserted, and we'll see the coverages Robert Saleh calls. If he sticks with man free and 2-man and sprinkling in a little cover 4, then you're right. So I'm very interested to see that. But at the same time, I'm curious to see what kind of business decision Richard Sherman is going to make, because he tore his Achilles right before he hit free agency last time. I don't think he's going to let that happen again. But I don't want to get in his head. Should we what?
But if you're Richard Sherman, and if your theory is correct, how much value would he even have on the open market? Because most of the NFL plays, or at least attempts to play man coverage. Yep. Because of all the offenses that are more spread out and everything. The NFL you need guys who can cover in man.
And that's, I think, one reason why the Seahawks let him go. All these Pete Carroll defenses have been trying to evolve to incorporate more man coverage. I mean, the Niners got Jason Verrett from Gus Bradley and the Chargers because they wanted him to play man coverage. The Falcons have been doing it too. So I don't know if there's a team out there that does. The defense the NFL may have evolved away from what Richard Sherman was doing the last 10 years.
I will say this. I will also say this. With him and man coverage, I think it's been a little bit of a farce his entire career. I think he's actually been, maybe he's not been Darrelle Revis or Patrick Peterson.
Agree.
He's been a pretty good player in man coverage.
Especially before he tore his Achilles.
Right. And he recognizes route combinations better than any corner I've ever seen. And the Niners do give their corners help. Yes, Verrett and Mosley are playing man coverage, but very rarely it's like the Patriots or the Dolphins who run cover 0, bring everybody and just say, you take that guy for these X amount of plays in a game. So he will have help over the top, I think, where he can protect his long speed and he can still focus on trying to read route combinations and make plays on the ball. So I don't think it's all just downhill for Richard Sherman. I think it's a little premature to say that. Or maybe you're right. Who knows at this point?
I just think it's interesting that the Niners defense has schematically changed in a fundamental way since he's left. And it would be interesting to know what that would mean for the identity of the defense if he were to come back. But again, if Jason Verrett goes down and the option is, hey, play Ahkello Witherspoon or Richard Sherman, it's like, what are we going to do, guys? What do you think? It's a no-brainer.